Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Joffrey Noodle Eggs here today with another Noodle film review. Today we're looking at 90s slasher film on Arrow Video, and it's called A Lover's Lane. Now this is a sort of a kind of Valentine's slasher movie, and it's a typical sort of 90s slasher film, and it sort of starts off with back in the past, where we're at Lovers Lane, where these, I think it's where these lovers go in their cars and sort of smooch and stuff. And we see a couple, they're just sort of getting it on, if you like. Can't show you much of that because the girl's topless most in it. And a car sort of pulls up behind them. And first of all, that she's a bit anxious about it. But he says, oh, no, it's just they're here to do their sort of thing. So then they carry on sort of making out, and then she hears the car door slam, and someone's got out. So she's obviously anxious and stops again and puts her top on. They start having a sort of chin wag and jibber jab and a laugh, and then they sort of like we see like a hook sort of on the window, sort of scraping across the window, which scares them, and then the hook sort of tends to break through the window and tries to attack them. So we've got a hooked killer. Any other 90s slasher film like that? Yeah, well, so we've got a hooked killer, and he's sort of like trying to torment these two in the car. They eventually get out of the car, and they head to the car that's arrived, and they see that there's already two people been murdered, to a young girl and a young boy that have been sort of slashed to bits with this hook. And then we sort of cut to like the title screen, and then the same back at the scene where the police and ambulances are now arrived. And so they're sort of like at the crime scene, and we see all this sort of like a big sort of like attendance to this crime scene, and then we see really strangely a policeman arrive with his young daughter. She must be about 6 or 7 in the car. What policeman arrives at a crime scene with their daughter, right? So that's a bit strange. Anyway, he arrives at the scene, and he goes down to have a look at the body, and one of the policemen said, no, don't go down there, don't go down there, you don't want to go down there. Anyway, he goes down there, and he uncovers the cover of the woman, and the woman that's killed is his wife. So not only has she been falling around, but she's now been murdered. So he then goes into Oscar acting mode, and sort of like cries like a 10-year-old girl, and sort of like, and it's like, oh, it's just brilliantly badly acted. It's cool. And while he's sort of like going on, there's the young girl gets out of the car and starts heading over towards where the dead body of her mother is. Then they sort of like, while the girl's heading towards the mother, the police have found somebody, and it's this guy with like a patch over his eye in the sort of like bushes area, and they've arrested him in suspicion of murder. So they think this is the hooked guy with the hook. And the girl then approaches her mother's body and puts a box of sort of like chocolates in the heart-shaped box on top of her mother's body. And then we sort of cut to the future, to now in the 90s. And then we get the 90s high school slasher Scream-like movie, where we get our normal group of teens arranging parties, and we got the jocks, and the good-looking guy with the good-looking girlfriend, and he's sort of had enough of her, and he wants to sort of break up with her, and she's all over him all the time. And we sort of see these relationships build up, and we see the young girl that's grown up now. I think her name's Chloe, I'm not sure. But she's grown up a little bit now, and she's sort of separated from the group. She's the shy one, not really part of the group. And she's sort of there watching everything go on, while her friends sort of like have all got sort of dates and all this sort of thing, and they're arranging this party. And one of the good-looking guy's friend tells his girlfriend, oh, sad to hear you broke up, because I didn't know we had. So she goes steaming off to the swimming pool where her boyfriend is, and sort of attacks him and throws him in the pool. And she sort of and she's sort of trying to drown him. So everybody jumps in the pool to try and save the lad, the good-looking lad, because she's trying to sort of like drown him by the looks of it, because he hasn't told her that they've broken up. We then cut to this mental institution, of course, where the guy with the patch in his eyes been held there for the past sort of 13 years, and they're still trying to get out of him if he killed these two people. So he still hasn't admitted to it, but he's been locked up there for 13 years. So we see like this sort of doctor trying to get it out of him, and this doctor is the father of, I think, the good-looking girl. The school principal, the woman in charge of the school, is the mother of the good-looking guy. Anyway, they all have this meeting at the school, and they decide to suspend them both for fighting and stuff like this. And so the mother takes her son home and sort of said, you stay at home and study and all this sort of stuff. And the girl is now sort of going out with the good-looking guy's friend, the one that said to her, oh, I'm sorry to hear that you've broken up. They are now a couple. But she's with him, I think, to make the other guy jealous. Typical sort of teen high school slasher concept all going on. And all this sort of stuff is all kind of going on at the school. Meanwhile, back at the mental institution, our supposedly killer has escaped. He's broken his chains and he's escaped and he's killed people on the way out. Or has he? At this point in the film, you don't know if it's him or what. We don't know. So all this is going on. And the mother, the principal of the school, has got this secret from the good-looking lad. And I think it is that this guy with the patch is actually his father. I'm not quite sure at this time. It's not explained. I know now, but at this time it's not explained. And I'm thinking, what's going on? So all this stuff's sort of going on. And so our killer is supposedly back on the loose. And that's all I'm going to tell you. So pretty much it's very similar to most slasher films. Something's happened in the past. There's a killer. They supposedly caught him. We're back in the future now. The kids are grown up, and the killer's back out on the loose. And then there's going to be killings, and there's going to be a body count. So that's pretty much the story. What do I think of Lover's Lane? I thought it was great. I absolutely really enjoyed it. It gets quite a bit of flack. A lot of people, a lot of channels that I like, have given it a little bit of a negative review, saying that nothing, it doesn't bring anything. But I think it does. To me, it's almost a little bit like the 90s Pieces. A little bit, because it's got some great characters in there that when you see them and you think, yeah, this is hilarious, and the acting's hilarious, and it's like, and they've tried it so hard to make it feel and look like Scream or Urban Legends, that actually it's come out more like Pieces and The Mutilator. It's come out more like that kind of style of film, and it's quite good fun. Really, really cool. I absolutely really enjoyed it. The pluses of this version, the transfer's quite nice. There is a lot of grain in it, though. For a 90s film, it's a heck of a lot of grain, which makes it almost look like it's a 70s film. But, yeah, there's a lot of grain in it. But I quite like that, and it's quite cool. There's two ways of watching the film. There's a 4.3 version, where you get the two sides, or you can now watch it in the full screen. I don't know why it was made in that sort of small sort of ratio, because it is a 90s film. So unless it was a straight to TV sort of thing, I don't know. But it looks great. I mean, the acting's really poor. It's really, really great, which is fantastic, which I like. The story premise is okay. It's very, very cliched and very good, but that's what I wanted from it. I wanted it. I wanted to sit down with me minstrels and my drink and just enjoy it, and that's exactly what I got out of it. Negatives, yeah, it is very cliche. It does lack a bit of gore, but there is some in there, but not a lot. But it's it does build up as it goes along, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to give the film an excellent watch and give it an 8 out of 10, which is quite a high score considering a lot of people have given it quite a low sort of review. But I actually quite enjoyed it. There's some I got something out of it, and that's what's important. You get something out of the film. It's not got to be life changing. It's not got to be the best slasher ever made every time you watch a film. It's just got to be something that you get something out of it, and I had a good time, and so that's what I give that, an 8 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below what you thought of it. This come on recommendation from my lad Lemon Lord, because he picked it up. He said, "Dad, I think you'd actually quite like it because it's not one of the sort of high end slasher films, and I know you quite like that. It's and he enjoyed it too. He says it is quite similar to tries to be like Scream and everything, but actually turns out to be more like an 80s kind of slasher. And I found I discovered he was spot on with that, and I really enjoyed it. So thanks to Lemon Lord for recommending me pick this up. It was really cool. Till my next review, guys, check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, the Horror Geek Man Review Film, RS Designs, Pizzlewell, I Am the Ice Lord, Sarah of Horror, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House, and of course, shout out to Lemon Lord, my lad. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.